We're from Artsengage. I'm Alvin from the Necessary Stage. And just a short introduction. We started when we were coming together and thinking about the arts NMP, and we went through that process, and now Audrey is the arts NMP, and then we discussed whether we wanted to carry on, and we thought we should continue to engage with arts issues, and so we went on to censorship, and then the CRC started to meet, and we decided we should engage them. We submitted how many names? 22 names, and none of the names got selected for the CRC. So we continued to go on to discuss. There was a paper that was created by the arts community in 2003, and we decided to go back to that paper to develop the paper and the position paper. And with that position paper, we went to meet with members from CRC. It was quite a good experience in the sense that this is the first time that the CRC members were open to meeting artists. So we met them individually and also as a group. And now they are working on the paper, and then they will submit the paper. But we have also submitted our position paper. And so today, the press conference, we're going to talk a little bit about that.
As you may know, we started a website, artsengage and entails. The online presence also allowed us to collect signatures, people who were in support of the paper, not just from the arts community, but also from the public. So the paper was posted on 14th of June, and up to the 30th of July, it was open for signatures. And during this time, we received 1,786 signatures. So I'm just going to read to you a few of the comments that they have given from Catherine Lim. The timing is crucial. If the government is unable to accept the compromise of regulation from the arts community and insists on its long-standing policy of censorship, then it will have missed the opportunity of any meaningful partnership with the community that would have become too weary or too skeptical to respond to the implementation. From the responses from the community, basically we are seeing that the community is ready to move forward. So the question now is whether those agencies can move in tandem with the community.
When I was at the substation as artistic director many years ago, we applied for a license for every show. Because the substation didn't want to take on the role of censorship. We will allow the police and now the NDA or whoever else is nominated to censor. But as artists, we cannot censor. But having been engaged in the process now for these months, I realize that censorship is not just about the arts. I've always known this. But it's become apparent so clearly now. There was nothing at all about the arts in the move to censor Martin's video of Lim Hock Soo. Nothing even remotely concerned with the arts. Nothing remotely concerned with the usual red buttons of race and religion and ethnicity, which are supposedly going to tear society apart. That was clearly a case of oppositional politics, of PAP uncomfortable with the fact that there was a part of history which we cannot remember now. Everybody we've spoken to, even the most conservative people, have said that, well, perhaps we need censorship in issues of national security. Perhaps we need censorship when we talk about religion or race. But I didn't come across a single person who felt that political commentary should be censored. I didn't come across a single person who felt that criticism of the government should be censored. What this campaign was about was to say, please stop We're old enough. We're old enough to decide. We're old enough to think. We're old enough to know what we want. And even in cases where behavior or conduct borders on what is hate speech and therefore is dangerous, as in the case of the pastor who spoke about Buddhism on YouTube, even in such cases, it was better that it was not censored. It was better that we could hear him and people could understand what his position was, so that people from other religions could respond. I've said this before when we launched this campaign. It's not just about the artists. It's about academics. It's about the media. It's about ordinary people on the street. Nobody has a right not to be offended. You have a right not to watch anything. You have a right not to see something you don't want to see. But nobody has a right not to be. That's what this campaign is about. I urge you all, please, to talk about this with your friends, with your communities, with your families, with your children, with your colleagues. Because we need a change. We need to be able to say who we are, say how we feel, and what we think. And it's much, much more important than just about the government of the land at this time.
It's not just engaging the government agencies and all that, we also need to engage the public. The public is the next step, which I think we need to talk through with, have several gatherings and groups and getting to know their positions, other people's positions as well, and also among ourselves.
Very recently, my little video recording of speech by Dr. Lim Hock Siew dispersed after being released from political detention in 1980. His first public speech, basically, I thought was very important, and I submitted it to the Board of Film Censors, and they banned it using the same reasons that they did for my Sahat Safari's film. I also want to state on record, finally, that throughout my whole dealings, or throughout the whole ordeal with censorship in Singapore, I have not once gotten a call or email from the DA to ask to speak to me, to dialogue with me. I would very much want to do that. I have not gotten any contact or call or email from the Censorship Review Committee to ask me to dialogue with them. I would very much love that. The only people I have dialogue with in my experience in censorship in Singapore is my investigating officer from Cantonment Police Station.
I shall refer to Alan Shadrick. Alan Shadrick, as you may know, was a former journalist like themselves who wrote a book called Once a Johnny Hangman. That book, the MDA has not banned. So we're not talking about the MDA here. Well, the book begins with the first chapter wherein Alan Shadrick recounts how he came about to write a news story about Darshan Singh, Singapore's long-serving, now retired hangman. And that story appeared in an Australian newspaper called Australian, and was actually reflected in some Singapore news as well. He apparently was the first journalist ever to locate Darshan Singh and interview Darshan Singh. Other people went up to Alan and said, "Alan, how did you get permission to interview Darshan Singh?" And Alan's reaction was, "What permission?" So you have the Singaporean attitude that you must seek permission before you do something that is kind of like problematic. This is what censorship does. This whole culture of censorship does to an entire people, an entire society. I was there at the first hearing on last Friday, and I heard Mr. David Chong representing counsel representing the Attorney General's chambers say in court that justification is no defense. In other words, it does not matter whether Alan Chadwick, as the author, had good reason to support claims that he made in his book. Claims which I am not allowed to repeat for fear of contempt of court. Even if they are true. I don't know whether they are true, but even if they are true, they cannot be said. This ties in with what Sasi has just said. Alright? That this whole censorship regime is a regime designed to prevent people from receiving offense. The offensive remarks will not be true. You are filthy, unwashed, dirty, smelly, whatever. But the offensive remarks cannot be made. That's what our censorship does. And it seems to me, and forgive me if I sound like a dissonant voice, that we are in this process of negotiating privileges. I'm very uncomfortable with it. Freedom of expression is a right, not a privilege. The laws that govern the censorship process in Singapore, in my opinion, are unconstitutional. The bureaucrats and the ministers who apply the law are acting unlawfully against our rights as citizens to enjoy our freedom of expression as enshrined in our Constitution, as listed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to which Singapore signed up when we joined the United Nations. These are fundamental freedoms.
I was the participant director of Short and Sweet Festival. The festival of 10-minute short play. So the directors chooses their own scripts and we perform. And this particular play, it's called Nuns Gone Wild. Basically, it's about these three nuns. It's a comedy. It's a very cute comedy. So three nuns are fascinating about love and sex, you know, because they're all virgins. And on the opening night itself, the cast and directors was informed by the festival organizer that Nuns Gone Wild will not be performing on the opening night. They appear again on the third night, okay, but they have changed the context of the play. Instead of three nuns, they have changed it to three convent girls, innocent convent girls. Yeah. Well, Arts House was invited to see the dress run. Of course, they are one of the major sponsors. So, and Arts House has expressed a concern about this particular play, that this content may or possibly be violating some of the rules given by MDA. And the play has been changed to Good Girls instead of Nuns Gone Wild.
And recently I submitted a film to MBA, which is a half-hour video interview with Francis Yap, who was a political game before. And the MBA this time, after much deliberation, they sent me a series of questions. So they're trying to dialogue with me. But the questions seem more like, well, it seems more like intimidation. Because one of the questions says, have you exercised editorial oversight to ensure that none of the comments made in the film are defamatory in nature? So I haven't responded to them, but I am going to respond to them. I didn't know that MBA became the Supreme Court to decide what comments are defamatory and what are not. So,
as a Singaporean, I've come to realize that censorship is an attitude. It's not about the things that you can't say, it's about things you can't hear. And I feel that my ears are stuffed up, as with a lot of Singaporeans, our ears are stuffed up, and I think that this has affected our worldview. I came here today as a Singaporean, and I think that there should be more Singaporeans who should come here because our humanity is being stripped away by censorship.